The United States has a long-standing security agreement with the South Koreans, and while it's obliged to protect South Korea under its nuclear umbrella against North Korea, the concern is that if there is any provocation, that the U.S. would respond in kind in a sort of a tit-for-tat method, but that in itself could easily begin to escalate even further and cause greater unsettledness and even all-out war on the peninsula. And an example of this is recently when the North Koreans began to raise concerns about the joint U.S. South Korean military maneuvers. Our response was to show military might, and especially after North Korea threatened a preemptive nuclear strike on the United States. The United States then sent B-2 bombers from the United States into South Korea for a bombing scenario just 50 miles south of the North Korean border. This absolutely worked into the hands of the North Koreans from a propaganda standpoint, simply because they could say, see, the United States has intentions of waging a nuclear conflict on the North Korean peninsula. This is the kind of activity that needs to stop, simply because the United States is more powerful than militarily than North Korea, but it doesn't need to flaunt it, and it doesn't need to be doing things that are going to agitate an already very sensitive situation on the peninsula. And there are some indications that the United States is beginning to go ahead and do its own deployments, but they're not making a lot of fanfare about it as they did with this B-2 episode. The tensions on the peninsula right now are very, very tense. U.S. and South Korean forces are on very high alert, but the concern by most analysts is that, including myself, is that some episode could absolutely touch this whole thing off and create a situation and potentially a war on the peninsula that nobody wanted. Not even the Chinese wanted. And I think that it's going to be intriguing to see what comes of the talks between the U.S. Secretary of State Kerry and the Chinese in the coming days, and trying to bring this episode to a reasonable conclusion so that people can get on with life and not have this kind of hostility. As it is, the question in my mind is, why do we continue the maneuvers? I don't understand it. But and those are going to go on until the end of April. So the potential for provocation and the possibility of an unexpected episode could absolutely cause tremendous problems and a potential for outbreak of war every day as we continue on with these exercises. There's no need for them. Especially now, since this has created a tension where we have artillery that could come raining down on Seoul. We have 28,500 U.S. troops sandwiched in between who could be annihilated, and there's very little that can be done to save them if in fact some episode causes an outbreak of war once again on the peninsula. It's a very dicey situation, and unfortunately the response that the U.S. intends to do is something proportional to what the North Koreans might do in return. But again, any episode can trigger an episode, and it could easily get out of hand, and that's got to be avoided.